David, check your mic.
Hello, I'm sorry for this inconvenience. I will repeat a little bit about what I was saying with the introduction. As I said before, my name is David Borja. I have 11 years of experience in private sectors in activities mainly dealing with the design, redesign, implementation of processes as advisor, consultant, and project manager. I want to introduce the speakers. The first one is David Rivera. He's from Ecuador and has experience in IT at institutions of the private and public sectors. David worked for SIAT in projects at Honduras, Nicaragua, and Brazil. He's from, Oscar Nieto is from Colombia and works as a system architect at the Secretariat of Finance of the state of Santa Catarina in Brazil. Antonio Seco, he is from Brazil and works as a senior external consultant for Jupiter Development Systems from Angola and as a senior consultant of the SIAT and Inter-American Development Bank. William Martins he's from Brazil also, and as independent IT consultant has experience in public finance and tax administration systems, crisis management, IT planning, and innovation. Santiago Reyes, he's from Ecuador and is a senior IT consultant, currently working in several modernization projects, including electronic and chatbots. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming here. We will start this webinar. Our panelists will speak in the following minutes about management of ICT in tax administration to ensure business continuity. This is a SIAT's ongoing series of webinars mainly based in the book ICT as a Strategic Tool to Leapfrog the Efficiency of Tax Administration, published in March. This free publication is available for download at libraries like Amazon, Apple Books, Kobo, SIAT Library, and several other sites. At this moment, we have 50 participants. It's a pleasure for seeing some of my friends and colleagues from another tax administration. Thank you very much for your time and for attending this event. Before we start this webinar, I want to make a poll. The idea is to see where are you now, right now. We will collect more information. Please wait for a few seconds. Okay. It's impressive the data that we have right now. We have people from different regions of the world. Thanks again for staying with us. So we will start this webinar. First, we will have this topic about technological architecture models. It's very important to support the tax administration core processes and crucial definition while designing information systems. David Rivera, please start your presentation.
Hello to everybody. Well, I'm going to talk about technological architecture models. Specifically, I will talk about loss coupling and which are the implications for the future. As the agenda for this presentation, we have an introduction of architecture and loss coupled systems. Then I'm going to talk about the importance of this kind of system and its impact on the tax administration systems. Also, we're going to check a little bit about the main loose coupling architecture models as SOA and microservices. Then I'm going to summarize the pros and the cons of this kind of architecture and how can we address some of these issues that we might find. Finally, we're going to, at the end, have some recommendations for the future, taking in consideration these kind of systems. First, we have a little Q&A. I would like to know about your architecture environments in your organizations. We have a little more seconds to wait for all the people who can and wants to answer a question, so we can have a feedback about this question. So as we can see, most of you have like an IT architecture department or team, which is very important. And also we have a specific architecture groups for software, data, and hardware. So we can see that there is a specialization in the architecture department, which is quite a strength. And I'm glad that it shows the maturity of some of your IT departments. We are then going to continue. When we discuss software architecture, I always like to start by bringing enterprise architecture to the table. It's the process by which organizations standardize and organize IT infrastructure to align with business goals. It helps organizations to structure IT projects and policies to achieve desired business results. One of the most widespread enterprise architecture frameworks was developed by the Open Group. It is called TOGAF. TOGAF focuses on 4 architecture domains: business, data, applications, and technology. In this discussion, we are going to focus on the 2 middle ones, which are data and applications. So what is loose coupling? Loose coupling in system designs refers to systems in which each component is encapsulated, technology agnostic, and independent of other components' definitions or technology. Each component does not care about how other components are constructed. It only cares about the function each component has and how to communicate with other components. Basically, we should be able to replace each component without requiring to modify any of the other components. But why is important? So why do we talk about architecture and loose coupled systems? First, architecture will help us to understand complex systems, therefore to make better decisions about its design. It's critical when planning projects or actions that impact or rely on technology. Second, always tax administration systems are very complex. This is an effect of digital transformation, and there is an exponential growth of requirement based on IT. Tax administrations are not exempt from this phenomenon. They are known for handling vast amounts of data and are usually affected by changes of governments and laws. Also, situations like the current COVID-19 pandemic brings even more changes that need to be handled with speed and fast. Loose coupled systems, when implemented correctly, have the advantage of being scalable, resilient, and able to gracefully adapt to changes, boosting the tax administration capacity to react to change. At system architecture, design can be constrained by physical factors, which are more related to business continuity and also logical factors that can also affect scalability and adaptability of the systems. We know cases of systems that are so tightly coupled that where even a tiny change affects the entire system, making it impossible to be changed. We are going to focus on the logical part of the design in this discussion. First, we have to understand that different architectures address design from different points of view. So comparing these models is not always an option. These design techniques are not mutually exclusive, and also they can complement each other. Loose coupling architectures can be analyzed from 2 perspectives. One, technology and business. By technology, I mean that we focus on how we can change a component without affecting the other technical layers like user interface or persistent layer. And by business, I mean how can we create a logical boundary that defines different businesses domains of the system, like the human resources domain or finance domain. One of the most well-known widespread architecture framework is SOA. It considers a system as a self-contained unit of software that performs a specific task. It creates logical boundaries for services, which is different from physical components. It has technological constraints, but it's focused on finding the logical boundaries of each domain. It follows the main principles of enterprise scale scope. It focuses on interoperability through standard interfaces and protocols for integration. It boosts the discoverability of services. It uses high level of business abstraction, which translates to reusability. Also focus on integration by using which is called an enterprise service bus to deliver seamless cross-platform integration and orchestration. And finally, it requires governance to control and manage service life cycles. Also, we have heard about microservices. It has an application scope and is more technologically related. Here, a microservice is a technical component, a product of breaking down an application into smaller independent applications. This independency is achieved by the following principles. It avoids reusability and synchronous processing, as they believe that it creates dependencies. Also, services are discovered at runtime because here the components are highly volatile, and data duplication is not viewed as a problem. It is more a result of the independent views that each small application has on the data. Also, we have heard about this new or some kind of new architecture that's called event-driven architecture. It was created to address unpredictable, nonlinear asynchronous systems. It is based on events. An event is are messages communicating that a change of an observed value has happened. It focuses more on real-time execution and analytics, and it evolves by itself. It is useful to discover patterns on behaviors and the relations and networks between the components are defined dynamically at runtime. Sometimes they don't even exist until some event occurs. It is essentially decentralized. It's very complex and highly distributed, making testing very difficult and generating data problems by this lack of atomicity in its transactions. Another technique that will be helpful to know about is domain-driven design. It's not an architecture by itself, but it will help us to focus on some important things about system design. It is a complementary technique that focuses primarily on design from the business perspective, being each business perspective a domain. It helps us to model these domains and make our software more conform to these domains or business points of view. When we talk about the pros and the cons on loose coupled architectures, first, as a pro, we say that it's less constrained to platforms, languages, operating systems, etc. So we can implement each component in different technologies with no impact on the functionality. The same happens with the business boundaries. So we can make change on one business boundary without affecting the others. It also has scalability, allowing the system to easily grow along with the needs of the tax administration. Also, it is flexible and adaptable, reducing the impact of implementing changes and helping to quickly adapt systems to change. In the cons, we have that we need a big effort on transaction governance. It is required because it has, let's say, less atomicity in the transactions. So an orchestrator is usually required to coordinate the transaction processing. Also, uncontrolled coupled system can incur in data quality issues as lies, integrity, duplicity, and inconsistency on the data. The lack of coordination between the components reduces atomicity in transactions, generating these data problems. How can we solve this kind of problem? First, we should focus on IT management and governance. Basically, a focus on architecture and quality assurance. To manage complex systems requires mature IT management and governance, with emphasis, as I said, in architecture, through standardization, reusability, and design, quality control to meet the requirements of the business, and quality assurance that are the strategies to prevent mistakes and defects. Also, we should develop a standard that generates adequate documentation about the system's eligible code. Here we can use something called COVID, as you know. Also, another point that will help us to solve these cons are data management. To understand and manage data flows and to maintain data quality requirements, we use data management. It has many disciplines that can help us to address the root cause of the data issues. DEMA, in its DEMBOK 2 or DEMBOK 2, provides a set of knowledge areas. For this particular case, I recommend reviewing data governance, and the rest of the ones I have highlighted with a green star that will help us to solve some of the issues that might arise from not handling very well those coupling systems. Finally, I would like to give some recommendations for the future, taking in consideration everything I said before. And we should improve planning and adaptability by introducing an architecture team or an architecture function to the IT department. I am glad to see that most of the people who was attending to this webinar works in an organization that actually has very mature architecture teams and structures. Also, you should always allocate enough time for system planning and design. Switching to a new architecture takes time and effort. It can be done incrementally, but always keep in mind that it will take time. Also, consider architectures as a set of tools. Apply different architectures to meet different types of requirements. Everything is good for something, but nothing is good for everything. So each architecture model has pros and cons. Trying to apply the same technique to address all the problems can be problematic. Also, you should improve your practices before improving technology. Technology is not the answer to all IT problems. You will be surprised on how much you can accomplish by improving your IT and data management processes before. Also, you should get on the data management train. As we saw, it's an important part of enterprise architecture, and system complexity will keep growing. Data management will help to guarantee that the information that flows through these systems is governed and quality is controlled. Also, we should try to align updates with the strategic requirements of the organization, technological updates. Planification is a key. So think twice before acquiring the last hype of technology. It always must serve to address a strategic need. So before buying the last hype of technology, if it doesn't have a clear purpose, it may become a waste of time and money. Finally, you should always balance your coupling level. So too less of coupling and you get a monolith, which is very, very difficult to modify, and it doesn't evolve. And too much of the coupling, you will have no system at all.
Okay, David, thank you very much for your presentation. The next speaker will be Oscar Nieto. He will address the topic business process management system. Certainly, as a result of this pandemic, tax administration will need to continue offering online services, and this is an interesting tool to achieve this goal. Oscar, please start.
Thank you, David, and good morning, everyone. So for the last 20 years, telework has been increasingly adopted in the private sector and has been credited with several advantages like increased productivity, better work-life balance, and reduced operational costs. But despite those advantages, the legal support available today and the huge improvement of communication technologies in the last decade, tax administration agencies all over the world have been reluctant or unable to adopt telework as a general practice. So now the world is in the middle of one of the worst pandemics of the last 100 years, and telework is no longer a matter of choice, but an obligation. And there are still serious technological and managerial challenges for TAs to effectively adopt telework as a permanent, widespread practice. So I have selected here 4 of the most widely recognized challenges on teleworking for tax administrations, and we're going to discuss briefly how document management systems and business process management suites can help those agencies to tackle them. So let me introduce very briefly the tools. You will find a more detailed description in the book. Document management systems are not the newest concept in the market. However, they have been evolving since they were born in the late 80s. And today they are pretty much essential for any organization. If you have used Google Docs, Office 365, or SharePoint, you have used a DMS, not necessarily ones that fits the needs of a tax administration agency, like the ones you see in the graph, but one that is pretty much enough for you. Enterprise content managers, or content service platforms, like they're also called, are new powerful high connectivity, high performance DMSs. They even add some handy functionalities like the ability to create and manage websites, for example. So a DMS will allow you to create, present, share, collaborate on, digitally sign, store, and manage digital documents. They are designed to reduce or completely eliminate the use of paper and deal with both digitalized and electronic documents in all sorts of formats, even those that we do not normally recognize as documents like pictures, videos, binary files, and so on. They can also deal with rules to validate data in documents like the ones we use in tax returns, and even execute simple workflows or for approval or for digital signature. You can have a deploy a DMS by itself, but also you can have it as part of a BPMS, which is the very much more powerful evolution of the famous workflow management systems from the 90s. A BPMS will allow you to model, simulate, test, deploy, and execute and continuously improve business processes with very few or no lines of code. They are designed to easily connect with all sorts of systems and platforms and to collect or send information inside and outside the tax administration boundaries. A modern BPMS will allow business experts to make changes to existing processes and applications even, or build new ones with little or no help from ICT experts. They also have very powerful tools to measure, monitor, and analyze productivity, and generate huge amounts of data to enforce transparency and risk management. So these suites need to be understood as investments, not only to assist end users in their daily work, but also to expand the tax administration system coverage and relieve ICT departments from huge development backlogs. There are many vendors with very diverse products and price ranges. There are even fully functional open source solutions. So selecting the right one for your tax administration is a very delicate and strategic matter. The book is going to give you some advice on that. Just a little warning here. DMS and BPMS are tools that can have a profound impact on the way people work. But in order to do that, they must be used as defined by their inspiring principles. This is especially true in the case of BPMS, which is inspired by the management discipline of business process management. BPM without the S is a discipline, it's something you do as part of your management model. It includes methods and tools to continuously improve business processes and better achieve your organization goals. On the other side, BPMS is a set of software packages to support BPM. But having a BPMS does not necessarily mean you are doing BPM. Neither that you will get all the benefits from having a different work culture like the one BPM generates. So let's go back to the teleworking challenges. The first one is to be able to properly connect and stay connected, as simple as it seems. VPN, remote desktop, and other bandwidth high consumption solutions are commonly used in tax administrations to support teleworking, mainly because you need to access a lot of resources and legacy systems to perform your work, and they are not deployed or built to allow that. The thing is that it's very different to maintain a fast, reliable connection using those solutions for a couple of dozens than for a couple of hundreds or for a couple of thousands. So the BPMS proposal of being the main single platform for employees to perform their work is very handy to simplify and reduce teleworking connection requirements, because BPMS are designed to be used through the web and mobile devices. So they spend a lot less bandwidth and require no configuration. So instead of sending your computer to IT department to set up applications, network, and security configurations, you simply access a website and then you can perform all your work. Once you are connected, you need to be sure that all you need to get things done is available to you. So the first step is to abandon paper, not only because it's out of any virtual office, but also because it's highly insecure and can easily get lost. A good DMS is what a tax administration needs to do that. Instead of managing copies of files in desktops and network shares, officers will see a centralized repository with high-profile searching, security capabilities, collaboration, smart versioning, and digitally signing. And no document should be lost again. But beyond that is the BPMS approach of making available every single piece of relevant information to a case right from your tax execution page, like it's called. So when you are dealing with the case, you have all the information you need, not only documents, but also records from different systems inside and outside the tax administration boundaries. Productivity is claimed to be both the biggest benefit and the biggest risk of teleworking. It's very clear and even promoted by teleworking legislation that the main key to tackle the productivity challenge is to evolve from a time-based managing approach to a result-based managing model, not only because of telework itself, but also because it's well documented that as a manager, you cannot make sure people is working all the time, even if you have them beside you. So BPMS are some of the best tools to implement a result-based management model, mainly because BPM was originally created to increase productivity and therefore relies heavily on performance indicator measurements. One of the main problems faced by teleworking employees is the need to determine what to do and when to do it, especially if they come from a traditional time-based management model, which is very common in tax administrations. So by properly implementing BPM and using BPMS in the tax administration, officers may have a very rich task inbox like the one you see in this slide that will help them determine priorities and deadlines and make the most out of their work time, no matter if they are on premises or teleworking. BPMS also will help managers to find out in real time if officers are actually working and getting results. They can also have strategies to assign cases based on workload, which is very handy in this case. At last, but not least, there is the challenge of properly securing information while officers are teleworking. This is no trivial subject and can lead to very long conversations. However, it is clear that setting up a centralized virtual work environment by using BPM and DMS allow tax administrations to log every single officer's action for auditing and risk management purposes, so they can have stronger and smarter security policies. As an example, BPMS and DMS can make it possible to implement a fully dynamic access control layer, like the one you see there, by automatically negotiating access to sensitive information like taxpayer records or auditing documents as a consequence of case assignment. Once the work is done by the officer, the access granted can be automatically revoked. There is much more to say about this subject and the impact of DMS and BPMS on both teleworking and the TA business as a whole. But to go deeper into that, I would recommend to read chapter 10 of the book. That is pretty much what I had on this subject, David. I will leave you all with David so we can continue with the webinar. Thank you very much.
Hello, Oscar. It was a great presentation and useful information for everybody. Considering the availability of IT services for the taxpayers and tax administration officer, it's crucial to ensure collection. Antonio will introduce us to some concepts about the implementation of cloud services. Antonio, please continue.
Okay. Good morning. This presentation is about cloud computing and service, especially about its implementation in tax administrations. The full presentation will be available on the site website. Here is the definition of cloud computing by the National Institute of Standards and Technology. The cloud computing have a change in its financial model paradigm from CAPEX, capital expenditure model, to OPEX, operational expenditure. In this model, it's like paying bills of a utility service as electricity or water. Scalability is perhaps the most important feature of a cloud system. As said by James Maguire, this property is like a Star Trek typical situation when Captain Kirk shouts, "Scotty, we need more power," and more power appears promptly. Likewise, in a cloud situation, you click on your dashboard and the cloud provides a computing source. The main service provision methods are infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service, as you can see in this graph. The most comprehensive service provision method is software as a service that can achieve the powerful everything as a service. For me, on this list, disaster recovery as a service is the most exciting when you move your disaster recovery environment to the cloud. The NIST also established 4 cloud computing models: public, private, community, and hybrid. Hybrid is made up of several types of cloud linked by an in-house or proprietary technology. The relevance of cloud computing today is given by the following numbers. The percentage of enterprises that will close their traditional data center in 2019 is 10%. In 2025, 80%, I said by Gartner. Almost 40% of government organizations plan to spend a greater amount of new funding in cloud service. And also, several governments are prioritizing cloud service in their IT strategy, like the United States, United Kingdom, Mexico, and others. Let's talk about the most important cloud service providers.
Antonio, do you want to share with the people the poll that we have prepared right now?
Well,
I am launching the poll. Please, for the audience, answer this question. It will be really interesting to have some information about your perspective. Antonio, Oscar will continue passing the slides for you. You can say him when you want to move the slide for the next presentation.
The third question is a multiple choice. You can.
Yes, we have right now 42% of attendance answered the question already. We will wait about 20 seconds more. Okay, that's all. We'll share with the audience the poll. Very interesting. Thank you, everybody, for answering.
I think that almost everything has used a type of cloud service.
Okay, Antonio, please continue.
Okay. Okay. The main public cloud providers are Microsoft Azure. In this slide, you can see a lot of US located underlining in yellow. They are cloud regions dedicated to United States government. US government cloud region adheres to government security and compliance requirements. In Latin America, Azure has a data center in São Paulo, Brazil, and soon another in Mexico. Amazon AWS, Amazon Web Service, is the Amazon Public Cloud Service. It has 2 government regions in the United States and in Latin America. It has a data center in São Paulo, Brazil. Other 3 big ones cloud providers I mentioned, Google, IBM, and Oracle. Now we will be presented 4 examples of heavy cloud users in tax administrations around the world. In the United States, the 2019 Federal Cloud Computing Strategy, known as Cloud Smart, is a long-term, high-level strategy to drive cloud adoption in federal agencies. IRS is evaluating how to accomplish this federal strategy. The main problems being faced are the legacy system and some security concerns, as detailed in the document mentioned below. In the United Kingdom, there is a government cloud-first policy with 2 main directives. 1, consider cloud solution before alternative. 2, public cloud first. Try always to use first a public cloud. Her Majesty Revenue and Custom is planning to migrate system from its facilities to clouds provided by Azure, AWS, and Crown. The migration will be completed by June 2022. Around 18 legacy systems have already migrated to the cloud. Mexico has a national digital strategy where cloud service will be based on Microsoft Azure. Microsoft is investing $1.1 billion to support this strategy. SAP, which stands for Tax Administration Service in Spanish, already operates several systems in the cloud. The next step ongoing is to migrate all services to its hybrid cloud named Senya. The objective is to integrate services in a public and private cloud, orchestrated and operated from a central point. In Guatemala, SAP, again, Tax Administration Service in Spanish, decided to implement the new electronic invoice system in a public cloud. The system was internally developed using microservices as a cloud-native mod. The system being implemented on a cloud has a total cost ownership of 1/3 in comparison to implementation on-premise. New applications on artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithms are being developed to be used native in the cloud. It must be said that the Colombian tax authority also has its electronic invoice system in the cloud. Some advantages for the tax administration. One is cost reduction. Reduction of technical staff to keep infrastructure operational, reduction of electricity and telecommunications bill, reduction of access control and security expense required to strengthen the protection of a computer infrastructure. Another advantage is flexibility. Flexibility is the responsiveness of the institution to change. Example, an electronic invoice system may require a surge of storage in a short time. On the other hand, special audit operation can free up a large amount of resources, storage and processing when it is finalized. Another advantage is to cooperate for the green computing. It refers to fewer data centers, which means fewer cooling systems and fewer power supply systems, which contributes to decrease the ozone layer depletion and also decrease environmental pollution. Another one is the immediate availability of special services. A lot of new services are available as a cloud service free to open, like IBM Watson, and CAPEX to OPEX. It may be an advantage or a threat, depending on the tax administration financial characteristics, as we will see later. Another advantage is for subnational tax administration. For many municipalities in province or states, it is almost impossible in terms of budget and skilled human resource availability to assemble a data center with adequate physical facility and management process. In general, they use server rooms plagued by the operational availability and security problems inherent to this kind of infrastructure. Cloud service alternatives can be a solution to reduce investment costs, improve operability, and obtain better service for tax managers and taxpayers. The same comments can be applied to smaller national tax administrations. Now we see the challenge that a lot of challenges also. One is the enforcement of geographical location. Some countries have laws about the geographic location of its government data. For this case, some solutions arise. One is the information classification. Transfer low sensitivity information to the cloud, while deciding what to do with the highly sensitive ones. The other is utilization of government clouds region where available, or government, private, or community clouds. We know there's kinds of projects in Brazil and Argentina. The main the use of hybrid clouds with sensitive data going to the private zone of the hybrid clouds. The OPEX problem is to ensure the continuity of the cloud service. Tax administration without financing autonomy must protect these contracts from eventual budget cuts, which are usually focused on the operating budget. Another challenge is the cost and availability of reliable cloud service. Some countries may have problems with the availability of cloud providers with the reliability required for the tax administration. We have another challenge, that is the financing modernizing programs. Many of the modernization programs for tax administration that are financed by the international organization direct the IT component basically for investment in IT equipment and infrastructure. This model influenced the decision of the program implementer, who see these finances as an opportunity to invest in acquiring equipment and own IT infrastructures, although considering negative aspects such as maintenance costs and rapid equipment obsolescence. Another important challenge is that tax administration are traditionally conservative and frightened by external IT environments. Here, the possible solution to minimize is the use of the discipline of change management. Another challenge is the technical team with new skills. Skills related to contracting and managing external IT services will be the more important. Here enter a new character, the lawyers, specialized in major technological service contracts. Another technical challenge is the cloud lattice that must be evaluated. And the major investment already made in IT infrastructure, data centers, equipment, and so on. Here, hybrid clouds may be an interesting solution. In conclusion, we have some aspects to highlight. Some governments already adopt cloud computing as a priority option on their IT service, and their tax administration are following this policy. Cloud services offer a great opportunity either as a primary alternative to power the tax administration core system or in application niche. Hybrid cloud is the natural choice for tax administration with large investments in their own IT infrastructure. The challenges in adopting cloud services are important and must be carefully considered and planned. Subnational tax administration or smaller national tax administration should strongly consider using cloud service, including for their core systems. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Antonio. It was a very illustrative presentation. Okay, dear colleagues, it is time to stretch our legs and get a cup of coffee. We will have a break of 5 minutes from now. Thank you very much. Okay, welcome back, everybody. Let's continue with the second part of our program. During the second half, we will have a couple of presentations from our speakers, and then we will start with the question and answer sessions. Please,
Yes.
Gulnay, you can start.
Yes. Okay.
I don't know if you already put your presentation online. Okay, I think we have some issue. I can pass the slides for you. Do you hear me, Gulnay? Okay, we can see your screen.
Okay.
It's okay?
Okay.
That's all. Thank you. Please proceed.
Okay. Hi, everybody. It's a pleasure to be with you. I will talk about IT service management and business continuity. IT environment is very, very complex. There are many components and pieces working at the same time. There are new technologies, new products, new services every day. Every day, we have new words in the IT language. For end users, they don't need to know about the IT ecosystem. They just want to have services available, useful, and secure with fair price. To match these 2 points, the complexity of the IT ecosystem and the end user view, we must use IT service management. It's not possible to provide services with stability, security, good performance, fair price without a robust management. Currently, information is the main object of the tax authorities. Obtaining good results in the tax administration depends completely on the use of information. IT offers the best solution and the most efficient way to work with data and information. Combining these two ideas, we can conclude that IT is a vital resource for tax administration. "40 years ago, when I started working with IT, or data processing, as it was said at that time, computers had several interruptions a day. I remember that one of the performance goals we used was to reduce daily interruptions from 10 to 5 in the next year. It was a big challenge. Today, it seems that computers and IT services never stop. Equipment and software are much better. There is a lot of readiness and fault tolerance. However, the complexity is also much greater. It's not enough to rely only on the quality of basic resource. It's necessary to manage, offer the best services, and ensure stability. Customers want to feel secure about IT services. It's not just the protection of assets against unauthorized access. They also want to ensure that services are stable, reliable, aligned with business strategies, perform well, and have fair price. Deadlines are met, and interactions with IT personnel are intelligible. It's important to understand the difference between two words, resistance and resilience. Resistance means being able to prevent an event from causing harmful consequences. Resilience means being able to return to a good situation after the occurrence of a harmful event. As we are not aware of all the harmful events that may occur, some events do not exist today or are of no relevance, it would be very costly to implement all protections and safeguards. So usually the goal of ITSM is to achieve resilience. It's practically impossible to have an IT service resistant to all types of disruptions, failures, malfunctions, cyber attacks, sabotage, and more. In the future, there will be disturbances that we do not know today. Therefore, the best recommendation is to create resilient solutions which can return to its regular situation in good conditions. And this is very important, in good conditions after the disturbance. There are many frameworks for ITSM. The frameworks specify how to perform the ITSM activities. It defines process, procedures, content, workflows, responsibilities. It's a guidance manual in a very broad view. For each framework, there are tools that implement the use. There are open source tools and commercial tools. The two ones, ITIL and COBIT, are positioned among the best known and most used ITSM frameworks. Usually, COBIT requires a top-down implementation that starts with stakeholders and defines business goals from their perspective, involving C-level executives and management staff. ITIL can be implemented from IT teams using a bottom-up approach within the department with little interference from C-level executives or boards. Now, we have a question. Please, David.
Everybody can see this poll. Please give us a hand answering this question. Okay, 32 attendees already answered the question. We will wait a little bit more. We will wait a few seconds more. We have 46% already answered the poll. Okay, I will close the poll. Thank you very much. I am showing the results on screen.
Yes. Thank you for the answers.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Most frameworks covers the basic and the advanced practices. The choice of a framework will not be discussed here. A framework establishes how activities have to be systematically carried out in each practice or area. There are basic practice areas common to all frameworks and advanced areas that is present in frameworks too. The frameworks are very flexible and can be adjusted according to the reality of each organization. Frameworks can be easily integrated with other resources that the organization uses. Example, project management, knowledge management, quality management. In this case, it is possible to match the practices of ITSM framework and other standards. It's even possible to use 2 or more frameworks at the same time in one organization, but I don't recommend that. About business continuity plan, BCP. And this is a document that outlines how a business will continue operating during an unplanned disruption in service. BCP is not the same thing as disaster recovery plan, although they are usually related. The COVID-19 pandemic showed this clearly. Today, business continuity is very current subject and appears in many news and analysis. The COVID-19 pandemic has shown that many organizations have been optimistic and have never effectively prepared themselves to continue to function in the presence of abnormalities. In business continuity, we have many factors. 2 of these factors are recovery point objective, RPO. This is the amount of data measured in time that can be lost when the disturbance occurs. 10 seconds, 10 minutes, 2 hours, 1 day. You can lose data in the occurrence. The other factor is the RTO, the recovery time objective. This is the amount of time to start business with alternative resources. Half hour, 3 hours, 6 hours, 1 day. How much time? The values of RPO and RTO are inversely proportional to costs. The solution depends on the level or tier the organization is in. The offer of services for business continuity has grown a lot in recent years. The services include consultants, implementation, operation, technical support, and monitoring of the continuity plan. As we see with Antonio Seco, services based on cloud technologies cost less and offer better results than conventional approach on resources. So, finishing, the ITSM framework can be adapted to the size of the tax administration unit. Continuity plan is within the ITSM framework. Every framework has an area about continuity plan. Finally, ITSM information technology service management is not simple. It's not acquiring tools or hiring consultants or just write procedures. It involves process, discipline, behavior, and the organizational culture. IT services must be managed systematically and independently of people and circumstances. It's not necessary to reinvent the wheel. If you want to have a world-class IT service management, it's simple. Choose a framework and deploy it firmly and persistently. Thank you very much.
Hey, Wolney, thank you very much. It was really illustrative, very useful information at these challenging times. It is time for our last presentation. The next speaker will be Santiago Reyes, and he will share with us the application of artificial intelligence to support taxpayers, an attractive solution to reduce costs and increase. Santiago, teach us how it works. Share the presentation. I will share with the audience next poll.
Good morning. Thanks for taking the time for this webinar. I will first kindly ask you to answer the poll David put on the screen.
Answers, and we are waiting. 52% of participants already answered the poll. We will wait 10 seconds more. Okay, I will end the poll. Thank you, everybody. I'm sharing the results.
Okay, thank you for answering the questions. We can see that, well, half of the attendants think that the chatbot will not replace people in the call centers, and most of you have already interacted with the chatbot. Well, thank you very much. Can you see the full screen?
Yes, we can see.
Thank you. Well, first, a little introduction. Many companies and organizations which provide client service and support have been shifting from voice, chat, or email client support to implementing new technologies such as chatbots. This, of course, has many advantages, but also many challenges. To engage in any kind of new technology is always a best practice to test and see if it will fit their needs before making big investments. We know there are very few tax administrations which started using this technology, so it's not easy to find or get a fully successful experience that can be used as a reference. A little bit of what we're covering in the webinar. Well, I will address some of the frequently asked chatbot questions. Well, I will show you a simplified functionality and a proposed architecture and some implementation alternatives. First, what we always hear, what is a chatbot? A chatbot, in its definition, is a software that can engage in a conversation with a human via text or voice, normally used to improve customer services, information provision, sales, among others. When properly configured and tested, it can interact with user without direct human intervention, meaning it can be available at all times, 24/7. This can reduce, of course, cost and increase user satisfaction. Another question, how do chatbots work? Chatbots can use many technologies, going from simple menu-based interactions to most sophisticated ones that use natural language processing, or NLP, capabilities that analyze the sentence entered or said by the user. They can also include sentiment analysis, which is to try to identify the user effective state of sentiment. Well, do chatbots learn by themselves? Yes and no. Using machine learning technologies, they can learn different ways to interpret a user intent or what the user wants to do, based on similar ways to ask questions. This should not be confused with the ability from the chatbot of finding the correct answers, which, at last at this time, should be properly configured by field experts, especially in tax administrations. Another question, do chatbots replace people? Like in customer service, I agree with most of you. In my opinion, no at this time. They should be considered as a complement to regular customer service tools and practices. They normally will fill up the gap for all-time availability and answer the top most frequently asked questions that consume most of the time for a person-based customer service. Well, I will show you a small demo I prepared. Let me just change it, my sharing. Can you please confirm that the video is in the screen? David?
Yes, we can see the information.
You can see the video?
Yes.
Okay. Well, this small demo I made is a possible chat interview at 3 a.m. in the morning. I will ask you to pay a little attention to some of the errors I introduced on purpose and to show you how they are handled by the chatbot. I'm going to start the video now. Talk to my revenue authority virtual agent.
Getting the test version of my Revenue Authority virtual agent. Welcome. I'm trained to answer questions in the form of how to, like how to register for PIN for resident, or what is the tax rate for advanced tax. Check our assistant tasks for a list of supported ones. You can always ask for top questions, or after an answer is found, ask for next to get another related question.
What is advanced tax?
I got 4 results, but you can narrow it down by selecting one of the following: all types of business, individual.
Individual. Individual.
Valid values are all types of business, individual.
Individual.
I got 2 results, but you can narrow it down by selecting one of the following: tax rate, definition.
Definition.
What is advance tax, individual? This is a tax paid in advance before a public service vehicle or commercial vehicle is licensed at the rates applicable.
Next topic.
What are the tax rates for advance tax, individual? For vans, pickups, trucks, prime move.
Top related questions.
Here is a list of related questions.
Reset my password.
To reset your password, please enter a valid email.
santi@ciat.org.
To reset your password, please enter a valid email.
santi@srt.com.
Great, we sent instructions to reset password to santi@srt.com.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure to help.
You're beautiful.
Back at you.
Bye-bye.
Can you please rate our service between 1 and 5?
5, of course.
Thanks, you rated us with 5.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Santiago.
I'm back at the presentation.
Yes, we can see.
David, please, can you...
Yes, I will share the poll.
Thank you very much.
I'm launching the poll right now. Okay, we have 300 right now. We have 50, 15, 30. 38% of the audience already voted. We will wait a little bit more. I will keep the poll for the next 10 seconds. Okay, I will end the poll. Thank you very much. I'm sharing the results.
Oh, great. I can see that, well, most of it like it, and I found the X result. Please select. I was expecting that. Very good. That's something we work with the last tax administration, and they specifically asked this to be included. Well, thank you very much about the poll. Well, I will share you in the next slide what are the main expected functionalities of a chatbot. This is, of course, a really summary version. Of course, there had to be some form of chatbot logging, most in the case of tax administration, if you're providing a service with that will show private information. There should be, and it is in market in red, is user intent detection and handling. I will explain this later. There should be some form of backend system integration. So to integrate the chatbot with the tax administration core system. And also a knowledge database and the capability of querying it. Of course, it should handle live agent redirection. That will meaning that if the user doesn't want to talk to the bot or the chatbot, he should have the ability to ask in the same conversation to be attended by a live person. And the live person should know everything that the person has done before with the bot. And of course, provide some chatbot statistics and KPIs so you can monitor the performance of the chatbot. As I said, one of the core functionality is user intent detection and response. Normally, people who calls or who goes to the tax administration wants their questions to be answered or assistance in doing something. So I divided normally in two categories, answering frequently asked questions and providing tax assistance. You saw that in the demo. Well, how does AI work in the chatbots? Chatbots use artificial intelligence with two main technologies. Machine learning, which is an algorithm that helps the chatbot to learn from previous queries and the data provided by you during the chatbot training. When a query is triggered, machine learning helps the bot to first monitor the past conversations it had and with the user and give some response accordingly. It also uses natural language processing, which has the capability of identifying and break down intents and entity that the user might type or say during the conversation, therefore looking for a proper answer in the knowledge database. Well, all of this means that the chatbot has the capability of breaking down the sentence that the user entered and identify what the intent was and which identities, in this case, for example, for the example shown, the capital gain tax, the tax rate, or it's related to individual or business. I will share you a very, very high level architecture of a chatbot. You can see three main components interacting, some form of user interface that can be written like web chat. That's to the left of the screen. By voice, maybe through a telephone gateway or by using popular social media channels like Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp, or others. They will interact with the chatbot model, which in turn should communicate with the existing tax administration core system at the top, and also with the current CRM that call centers use. That is because it's really important to have an interaction or integration with the current call center system. The internal chatbot components should also interact with each other and also store and retrieve information from their own databases. We can see here the interaction with the virtual assistant or conversation cloud systems at the bottom, like ones provided by, for example, big companies like Google. They provide Dialogflow, IBM, Watson, Microsoft, there's the one they provide is Louis, and others. This service can also be internally hosted, but it might require a lot of support and computer capability, and also high maintenance. Well, some of the implementation alternatives. First, you can do a project for like a full in-house project management and development. In this case, all planning, design, and development should be conducted by tax administration officials. Of course, it can include training and expert assessment for key components of the project. There's also the possibility of a partial in-house management and development plus an outsourcing. Some of the project management or the development can be done by internal personnel, leaving other technical activities to be developed by the outsourced company or person. And the third one, it could be hiring this as a service. In this scenario, the tax administration will hire a consultant that will provide a chatbot as a service, leaving tax administration's officials with providing the proper information to include in the chatbot database, and of course, the implementation of the core system application program interfaces with the backend. That will meaning to integrate with the current account, with the registry, or any other information that can be provided, of course, with security to the taxpayer. Some final thoughts. There is an enormous opportunity for tax administration to successfully get involved in an interesting and useful project as implementing a chatbot for increasing the user service perception. Chatbots won't learn from themselves. They should be properly monitored and reviewed. The effort in training the bot is greater at first and lesser at the end. Also, as any piece of software or service, it should always be updated to meet new requirements or legal changes, new ways to ask the same questions, or new procedures that the tax administration puts in place, new laws or new conditions that should be properly updated in the bot. This will need a small team to always be in charge of overseeing the chatbot performance. So before that's all I have now to share. Before we end, please, I will kindly ask you to answer the last poll.
Okay, we already launched the poll. We are not having right now any answer. We have answer. Ten answers already. We have 33% of attendees already answered the poll. We will wait 10 seconds now. Okay, we'll wait for a few. I will start the poll. I'm sharing the results.
Okay, thank you. Well, most of you think it will be useful for having a chatbot with it in the tax administration, and of course, avoid long on-hold times. This is something that happens to everybody, not just in the tax administration, but many call centers. Thank you. Thank you very much for your answers.
Thank you very much, Santiago, for sharing with us this important information. It was really useful for everybody. I will make a short summary of what we learned in this session. Software architecture should be aligned with business strategies and processes. The coupling could be useful. Now that the tax administration needs to deploy services quickly, business process management system will allow us to model, simulate, test, deploy, execute, monitor, and continuously improve business processes with few or no lines of code. This kind of solution simplifies and reduces telework connection requirements because business process management system is designed to be used through the web and mobile devices, less bandwidth and requiring no. Cloud computing in tax administration could reduce operational costs due to it is needed less technical staff to keep infrastructure operational, reduce the risk associated with electricity and telecommunications availability, and improves. Some of the challenges of this kind of initiative are local laws and the traditional conservative methods of tax administration. Business continuity plan is a document that outlines how a business will continue operating during an unplanned disruption in service. It is useful to respond to threats like cyber attacks, data corruption, earthquake, epidemic, pandemic like we have right now, fire, flood, mission critical system failure, and so on. Organizations are moving from a traditional recovery approach, standby equipment, redundant networks, specialized safe procedures, to an automated and software-defined resiliency approach, in general using cloud technology and services. And finally, chatbots are an artificial intelligence solution that could be useful to reduce the cost of compliance and increase the efficiency of tax administration. Okay, everybody, we are close to finalize this session. Before we can start with the question and answer session, I will share with everybody a poll. It is important to have your opinion about this webinar. Please vote and share with us what do you think about this event. Until everybody shares its opinion, I would request for all the panelists, the speakers, to share their cameras. Okay, we have 50% of attendees already answered the poll. We will wait 20 seconds more. Okay, I will share the results of this poll. I'm showing the results. It's interesting data. Thank you, everybody, not only for answering the survey, but also for staying with us in this session. Thanks to everybody. Okay, we are ready to start the question and answer sessions. First, a question to David. David, what kind of software architecture do you think suits better for tax administration that they will face more change in their information system as a consequence of the pandemic?
Hello, everybody. Thank you, David. As I said before, architectures are a set of tools. They can complement each other. Due to the complexity of tax administration processes and systems, loose coupling architectures are definitely a must. I would recommend to start by implementing a framework that focuses on businesses' needs in a top-down fashion like SOA, which includes governance and clear protocol controls. And also is a centralized model that fits into many tax administration's structure. Then, when you have well-defined business boundaries and requirements, you can apply a suitable technology-focused architecture to each need. It could be microservices or even driven or even monolith, depending on each requirement. So you can use many of them in the whole system. Finally, I would also recommend that remember always to manage your data from a business perspective to boost the value you obtain from the IT systems.
Thank you, David. I have another question for Oscar. Oscar, in your experience, what kind of key decisions should take a tax administration during a BPM implementation project?
Thank you. Well, I think the first key decision is just the first one that you need to take, which is highest authority commitment to implement BPM as a management discipline, not as a system, and sponsor all the changes that are going to be needed to support that. That means, first of all, including that implementation project in the strategic plan. From that point on, you have to set up, train, and empower a project management team, a project implementation team to support all the activities. But that team will eventually become the tax administration business process management office. And they will take care of all the process continuous improvement that is going to be being performed. And then you will have to start working in, I think, like 4 lines of work. The first one would be to actually execute the BPM lifecycle for processes and build up your process architecture. The second one will be to set up a public and private partnership board with key players and other government agencies, so you can have services built in that other agencies and be used from here and the other way also. And also have large taxpayers and key tax business players working together, so you can actually improve your processes. And then you will have also to very carefully select a BPMS and a DMS like the ones we saw. And you have to study and test several candidates, and you start implementing process on them. You will have to decide if you will have it on premises or in a cloud, and what cloud model should be used. And also you can have a line of decision which relates to human resources transformation, because you're going to have to bring a lot of new technologies and practices, and you have to train people so they can use them well. I think those are the most key decisions that you will need to have.
Thank you very much, Oscar, for this wide explanation about this topic. Antonio, I have a question for you. Which kind of risk do you think a tax administration should evaluate to implement cloud services?
Okay, David. First, I would like to make a data correction to my presentation. Our colleague Mauricio Romero from the Guatemala Tax Administration said they use a multi-cloud environment to the electronic invoice system, is AWS and Azure. They also use Office 365 clouds for collaboration and electronic mail. Well, I will answer the question now. Risks related to capacity, costs, and technical operations are usual, but security risks are always mentioned as a big issue. I can mention here some security risks that the IRS determined in order to follow the US government cloud smart policy. The problems mainly happens because the data is no longer stored in the agent's managed data center. Then the agents must rely on provider security controls for protection. To mitigate it, these security controls must be previously agreed and upgraded, maybe with the cloud providers. The US government has a program named the Federal Risk Authorization Management Program, FedRAMP, that provides a standardized government-wide approach to security assessment, authorization, and continuous monitoring of cloud service. This program is available in the US government site. The United Kingdom government also has this kind of program available also in his website. I think that it may be a guide for other government or public institution to assemble its own guide. Okay.
Thank you, Antonio. Thank you very much. I have a question for Volney.
Yeah.
Volney, which sequence do you recommend for implementing a framework like IT?
Okay. I recommend start with a good plan, detailed plan. Start with the plan. After, deploy asset management. Then every 2 or 3 months, implement 2 practices. I recommend the following order of these sets of 2 practices. First, catalog of service and human resource. Second, incidents and availability. 3, service desk and changes. And finally, fourth, architecture and infrastructure. There are another practices, but the organizations learn with these initial practices. That's only a recommendation to start work. Deployment can be adjusted for each organization. Only asset management has to be done in the beginning because you need to know what exists. You can choose this sequence of the implementation of practices according to your organization. It's not rigorous. I am doing only a recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Willie, for your answer. I will pass Santiago the word to answer a question. Willie, please, you can see in the chat, maybe somebody has a question for you.
Yes.
Oscar, the same for you. I see you have one question. Because we don't have a lot of time, probably we will answer the question for Oscar and Willie, and then we will close the session. I will proceed with the question for Santiago. Santiago, which type of services questions do you recommend to start deploying a chatbot inside a package?
Okay, thank you for the question. Well, I will start with the ones that take most of the time of the call center officers, but also are not so complicated. Well, in this case, each tax administration will have a different set of most frequently asked questions or assistance tasks that they will need to implement. Also, it will depend in what time of the year they are. Maybe they are in filing season. That's a different set of questions. Or maybe they are releasing new functionality like electronic invoice, or maybe they are on a registration campaign. So it will depend. But most I will think that it's a good idea to offload based on the 90-10 rule. That will be many of the easy questions that are easy answers that have many questions can be attended in this chatbot at first, and then they will you can add more and more functionality. Thank you.
Okay, Santiago, thank you. Oscar, could you please answer one of the questions we have from the attendees? I will review. I don't know if you had the opportunity to review the information.
Sorry, David, I couldn't hear you.
Okay, I will repeat. I don't know if you already see the question that we have from the audience. We have one question from the audience for you. It's a question from
yes, I'm writing the answer so everybody can read it.
Okay, thank you very much. Willie, we have one question for you. I will read this information. The question is from Raul. Does out-of-the-box IT implementation will facilitate support to 100% work from the home policy?
Yes.
What do you think about that?
Yes, yes.
Yes, it's possible.
It's possible. It's possible. See, yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I hope Oscar can finalize answering the question from Maria Eugenia. It was a pleasure for me and for all the speakers for staying with us during this more than 2 hours session. It was really useful, this kind of information. As we said before, you can download all this topic, the recorded webinar, or maybe the presentation through the CIAT webpage. or maybe you can write me an email and I can send this information for you. Thank you everybody for staying with us. It was a pleasure. Thank you from the speaker and see you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 Goodbye everybody.